You ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to us on the Broadway Podcast Network, or you're watching us on Broadway World, or over on social media like YouTube. I'm at lunch. I'm literally eating a salad in my day job, where I get to talk to film directors, people who have crossed this. Our next guest decided to make a movie across this country, from the Grand Canyon, from one side to the other side, and we've had the cast of the show on before. But now the director, this crazy idea. What a crazy idea, but what a brilliant movie. I got to see it, and you got to check it out. It's coming video on demand, and you got to it's the perfect weekend thing to do. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you for having salad with me and being here with me. You know, life is interesting in an elementary school lunchroom, so I'm excited that we were able to sneak away and have this moment together.
Thank you.
Well, did you film it during the pandemic? It came to you during the pandemic. What happened with this movie?
We filmed this movie in 2022, so not necessarily during the pandemic, but excuse me. Shortly after the pandemic, when everything was starting to, kick back off, and people were like, "Oh, let's get back to making movies again." This idea was brought to me by a friend and one of the executive producers, Adam Moyer, and I met with Bill Haney, the writer and executive producer of the film, and we basically embarked on this realistic journey. Being that I had done 11 films prior, I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah, we'll shoot a cross-country movie, but I'll produce it, marginally in and or around LA or in California, and just find all the locations." And because of Bill, he afforded us the opportunity to do it holistically, or do it authentically, if you will, and film all the way from Boston, Massachusetts to Vallejo, California. And that, I think, afforded us some authenticity, some honesty in the film that adds a bit of tangibleness to the characters and to the landscape, and just paying homage to the roads of or the forgotten roads of the U.S.
The film is so beautifully shot. It is so gorgeous. The pictures of this country from all across. You traveled 3 times across this country, it says, to make this movie.
Yeah. So we did a scout trip, and then we did a filming trip from Boston to California, and then we had to obviously bring the picture car back. So we went from California back to Boston, and each time we were able to gather some beautiful scenery and just embark on what it feels like to be on the road.
Well, here's the part that's shocking and crazy to me. How many days did you film this movie?
The first time around, I think we were 3 weeks, and that includes traveling and shooting. And then the second time around, we took like 9 days to go across the country, and we picked up basically like pickup shots and like little additives or morsels, if you will, to tie all the pieces together.
21 days to film the principal stuff, and you did it in 13 states.
13 states, yeah.
It had to be, you've said you've done 11 other films. You've done a bunch of other work that you have out there, but this is a little bit of like, I don't know, a Wild West kind of, let's shoot a movie, get in the car, and let's keep it moving. We
made it with 9 people. There were only 9 people on our set at any given time, and I'm pretty sure that includes our cast members at times. The most people on set, I think, was 12, and that was when we had all of the cast in one, scene. So we made it with a very, very small, eclectic group, but every single person that was a part of this, when I reached out to each one of them, I know a few of them very, very well, pretty personally, and I've worked with them in the past. So I was like, okay, I can trust these people. And then other people, I was like, I want to expand my crew and see who else is, willing. I want to work with some more people. And that was the producer side of me. And so I interviewed people on, what was it called? Staff Me Up, Mandy, stuff like that. And then went through a list of resumes and found the right group of people. And we all just had a blast making this movie.
Well, and it shows. And of course, we're talking about the movie, everybody. The movie is called What We Find on the Road. You can, it's going to be out and about. You can watch it in video on demand, stream it at home. And we're really excited for people to get the chance to see it. You talk about and what we find on the road.com, or you can go to at what we find on the road on Instagram. We'll have all the links and information for you below when you're watching or listening to us right now. You have talked about the cast. This cast is pretty bananas, and they're pretty brilliant actors and some of the best young talent. You talk about Finn, you talk about Chris, or you talk about Ross. Tell us, how'd you find this cast? What was it like to work with them in this project in particular?
So Bill, the EP, knows Susan Shopmaker pretty well, and she is a world-renowned casting director. And so when she put this cast together, what typically happened was she would put this list of people together, and then we would watch, auditions, and then they ended up doing table reads. And so I owe marginally all of that success to Susan Shopmaker's brilliance and her ability to read a script, a beautiful script from Bill, and dissect what needs to be seen on screen. And so when she brought the options to us, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was like, even if I was down to choosing between one or two people, those choices were like, how do I choose between these two? Because you did such a great job putting this list together. But yeah, the cast is, I've said this in multiple interviews, they're just honest on screen. It's easy to watch them on screen. And I think that shows Susan Shopmaker's ability, is just knowing who to put in these right spots.
Well, this film, is I don't know how to, it's about family, it's about friendship, it's about fathers, and it's about America, driving, being young. I don't know, how do you describe the movie when people ask you what it's about?
It's a coming of age film where a kid finds out how to say yes and no for himself. In the beginning, he is told what to do. As we all are as kids, like, go clean your room, go do this. No, you shouldn't go across country. Move over. You can't drive. Like, you're being bossed around, even whether it's by people closest to you, relatives, friends, family, authoritative figures that don't necessarily know your, state in life, whether it's cops or whatever. And eventually along the way, much like in this movie, and how we deal with our own lives, hopefully we find our own voice. And at times it costs us certain things. So not to give too much away in the film, but there's a moment where he makes a decision for himself, and it cost him something, and a passenger, if you will.
Yeah.
And I thought that was probably one of the most profound moments of the film, because it was at that moment that he was like, no, I think I'm going to start making choices that I want to do. And that is something that I wish and hope for every young person, is to have the confidence to explore saying yes or no for yourself, rather than like doing what the crowd is doing or doing what everybody else wants you to do. And I think that was one of the most beautiful parts about the script that Bill brought, to the page, was that moment, and others where it's like, no, it's about the boy making a choice. That's it. And not to divulge too much, but the ending of the film, and you've seen it, the note, that's another choice. It's like, yeah, I could stay here with you, but I've got something else I want to explore. I just want to see what it's like. I want to go see what that's about. And so it's about him finding his voice and being secure in making a bad mistake, after the middle part of the film that I was just referring to, when he lets down the roof and he's just sitting there by himself, and he's like, TJ's character battles with the disgust of bugs. And that comes from a very real disgust by Finn in real life. He can't stand bugs. So him not wanting to let the roof down, when he was with his friend, but then letting the roof down when he was by himself, shows that having friendships, they impose on you, or they help you grow, or they help you face a fear. And even though that moment was by himself, it was evident that he grew from his friendship, even if it's in the smallest way possible, of like being courageous or facing that fear and be like, dude, it's going to be okay. And because of that, he was able to enjoy just the simplest thing of riding in a convertible, you know? So he got over, it's a small gesture, but it is evident in there. And if you pay attention, those morsels are there, and Bill did a wonderful job with the script.
And you did a wonderful job shooting it, and they did a wonderful job acting it. And it makes me, I said this when I spoke to Finn and Chris, I said to them that, you know, I was 18 years old. I got my driver's license at 17. My dad had a white Corvette convertible.
Nice.
And when I got my license, his incentive for me to pass was he'd let me drive it to school. And now my dad was not an ex-con, and you'll have to watch the movie to hear all about it. But I had this, it gave me this motivation, and it's this memory that then my brother, who's a couple years younger than me, he let him do it. And I did drive it, and I was so scared that he was like, you have a license, you'll be fine. Just drive the car. Yeah. But it's, you know, it took me to this moment. And when you talk about the note, I remember being 19 years old and wanting to go away for the weekend, and my mom saying no and leaving a note and leave. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but you're going to go back, people, to moments in your coming of age story where you feel maybe you didn't drive cross country, but you'll have moments of remembering the years that you let the wind hit your hair and you hit the road.
Yeah.
So what is your advice for people who want to become filmmakers? Like, how did this start for you? I see all your fun stuff. You look like it's comic books, it's films, it's all of that. So
the
Goonies
is my favorite film of all time. It was the movie that kind of started me down the path of desiring to be in film. I think it's courageous. It's the little guy winning. It's adventurous. It's treasure seeking or treasure hunting. And I think as creators or as artists, every artist shares that desire to just kind of throw caution to the wind. The film industry is hard, much like any industry, but I just had this conversation with a close friend. I think I'd much rather be embarking on a risk that is passion driven rather than embarking on a risk of fulfilling someone else's dream with the facade of stability. I know all too well too many of my friends and family members that have gone down the path of doing what is, we'll call it procedural. You go to college, you get your degree, you get out, you hopefully get a job, and then you're in that job. And then I've watched people waste away in a job because they feel unfulfilled. I've watched people, lose hope. and I look at film as like reinstating that hope into people. So like, if in some way I can make someone's hour decent, or an hour and a half, or even like, God willing, I'm able to make a movie that sticks with me for the rest of my life, like, you know, the films behind me, then I think you've kind of won. But you asked, sorry, I got off topic there.
Please,
how did I get into film? I think, was that the question?
You were an actor originally.
I was originally, and then I realized that I sucked. So, and I was like, oh man, but I love movies. Like, I love goofing around. I love being comical. I love being serious. I love being empathetic and trying to portray that or help portray that. And I started in front of the camera, left the industry, became a chef for like 4 years. And then I was like, that exact moment of my life was very much a table turner for me, because I was like, I did have a passion to cook. And I learned very, very quickly that passion was just sucked right out of me because I was working towards someone else's dream or hope or goal. And I was like, I'm going to go back into film, but this time I'm going to be behind the camera. And I started my own company a few years back and did a couple of things in other countries. And then a mentor of mine was like, hey, do you want to come out to LA and take a stab at like network television and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so I came out here, slept on a couch for a month and a half. And much like many people that have been out here, I found immediate success. And then right after that, like a huge drought. And I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. And so just like the tides, I've had these big ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. And I think when all is said and done, I've learned to kind of find my balance and never live above my means and never live below my threshold of self-pity, or, you know, you kind of have to be in the middle. Because there's going to be bad times. There's going to be really good times. And as long as you can just moderate, being on that middle plane, you get to enjoy it a lot longer and you don't lose your sanity. So
I think that's such great advice. And look at that. But I think that's in all businesses. There's ebbs and flows, and maybe the mundane. It's not mundane. What you do is not mundane. So this is coming out. This is what you're working on right now. This is going to come out for everyone to see. And it's a great film to watch, especially through the holidays, especially with family, kids, or family date night, whatever. But are you always looking for the next thing? Do you wait? Do you write?
I do write. And I've just finished a short film that we're editing now. It's kind of a proof of concept. But I just got approved for my next film, and I will be starting that in January. So, and I will be working with Finn again. Actually, he'll be in a much different role. I'm excited to see how he addresses this role. It's not with Bill this time, but yeah, it's going to be fun. It's much more serious of a film.
All right. Well, we're ready. Well, firstly, while you get ready for that, make sure you find what we find on the road. Make sure you see it, listen to it, watch it, share it with a friend. And then we're going to follow it online and on Instagram. We're going to follow you. Is there a way we can follow you?
Yeah, I have Instagram. It's just at Chaysen. I'm the only one.
You're the only Chaysen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Chaysen, just like it says on the screen.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. I don't know when I did it, but I've been on Instagram for probably, I use it just for my film stuff. So it's not very personal, but I do occasionally post a personal thing up there once in a while. But Robert, I appreciate you, man. This has been a blast.
No, I'm going to be following you. I'm Robert M. Bannon because somebody in Canada took my name. How dare they?
It's a shame.
And now you got me inspired to watch this film again, and then maybe check out Goonies again, because it's of a certain age. That's the cat's meow. That's the top of the top.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun ride. There's a lot of weird piece of the film history. There is a quote in there that I find absolutely hilarious. And you asked me earlier on if there was something that happened that wasn't supposed to happen that made it into the film. Yes. We called cut. We were in the Grand Canyon and we called cut, and the car was coming back to us. But while they were driving, they passed a sign, and Maeve's character says Nofs, N-O-F-S. We didn't know about this until we got into the editing room, that this even existed, that this footage even existed, but it showcased Finn's genuine sense of humor. Like, this is not scripted. It was not acting. It was just them being them. And Maeve's character says Nofs, and he goes, Nofs? And she says, yes, Nofs, N-O-F-S. And he goes, oh, that's a kind of moose. It's a one-antlered moose, and it walks in circles. And she goes, what? You're joking. And he's like, no, you just don't know about America. And she's like, what? And he goes, yeah, you just don't know. It's a type of moose. And she goes, yeah, I've never heard of it. And he's like, I'm joking. Of course, that's not a real animal. That'd be a horrible design for an animal. And she goes, what? And that moment right there was just so genuine. And it showcased, like, those are the types of moments that you hope for in real life. Like, real life is 10 times better. And that is the kind of stuff that happens on a road trip. Like, you get to know somebody and you feel comfortable enough to joke with them. And even though it wasn't scripted, it showcased her willingness to, like, accept that maybe she didn't even know about America all that well. And that was very humble and very authentic. And from his side of things, it just showed his sense of humor and his willingness to be playful and make it fun along the way. Like, in real life, we're filming a movie, and so it's hot in the car and there's no AC, but amidst all of that, the issues that could arise while filming, you still have to find joy and peace and be fun and be free. And that moment was not scripted. We didn't know it happened until we got into the editing room, and then it comes about and you're just like, dude, this is sweet. This is really, really nice. So
humanity, and that's what the movie reminds me of.
Yeah.
Humanity. It's just about humanity, and it's such a beautiful thing to see, and it's facilitated by you. So thank you for entertaining us. Thank you for making this, and
Thank you.
we'll be ready for the next one. Serious, dark, scary, whatever you've got up your sleeves, we're ready.
It's wild. It's wildly different, but it's going to be fun.
We're here for it. What we find on the road, make sure you stream it, listen to it, find it, search for it, and you can get it, and you'll definitely be worth checking it out. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited. Thank you, and thanks for all the work you do.
Robert, thank you for having me, and everybody, I hope you enjoy.